Hi everyone and welcome. This is Dawn. I'm so glad you could stop by. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this pretty simple Christmas card. As part of my design team submission for our November challenge, we had to make a Christmas card. So let's get started. I'll be using the Altenew Night Before Christmas stamp and the Hero Arts hand-drawn snowflake background stamp. I'm going to be using my MISTI stamping tool today. I put a little bit of tape down to hold my cardstock in place. I use a piece of Nina Classic Crest cardstock folded to 4.5 by 5 1/4. I place the stamp over the cardstock. I rub the card with an embossing powder bag and then cover the stamp in Versamark ink. I press down really hard to give it a really good impression because the stamp is so big. Then using the Ranger white embossing powder, I cover the entire card with it. I hold it over a coffee filter so when I'm done with the powder, I can just pour it back in the jar. When I'm done, I will use a paintbrush to brush away the embossing powder where I want the sentiment to go. I wait for my heat gun to get really good and hot, and then I move it all around the card, trying not to stop in one place for too long. When I have a big area to heat, I like to keep my paper on my glass media mat. I feel like it helps to prevent the paper from warping so much. I'm going to heat emboss the Merry Christmas sentiment on the card using my MISTI stamping again. First, I rub the paper with the embossing powder bag, then I use Versamark ink to stamp the sentiment. This time I'm going to use the Ranger Gold embossing powder and then heat the sentiment. When I'm done, I put the card aside and now I'm going to stamp the Christmas tree. I chose to use my MISTI tool because I plan to triple stamp this tree to give it a really deep impression, and using the MISTI makes it much easier to line up the images for me. I use the Altenew Forest Glades ink to stamp the image. Now this ink will stay wet for a little bit, allowing enough time so that I can add embossing powder to it. I wanted my Christmas tree to have a shine to it. This time I used the Ranger Clear embossing powder and then heat the Christmas tree with my heat tool. I die cut the Christmas tree along with 2 white Christmas trees. Then I glue the 2 white trees to the back of the green tree to give it added dimension on the card. I place the tree where I want it to go on the card and then I glue it to the card. Then I take the Altenew metallic thread and cut it about 14 inches long. I put glue on both ends of the thread so that they don't fray, and I let it dry for a few minutes before I try to fold it. I hold the thread between my fingers, going back and forth in a figure-8 motion until I have 3 loops on both sides. You can put as many loops as you want. I only wanted to put 3. Then I take my tweezers and I use them to pinch the thread. I take another piece of thread about 5 inches long and put glue on both ends so it doesn't fray. Then I tie the piece of thread in the middle of the other thread that's in the tweezers, and I put a double knot in the middle of it to hold the bow in place. I then put a drop of glue on top of the tree and hold the thread in place using my tweezers. While the glue is drying on the bow, I wanted to add some gems to the Christmas tree to make them look like ornaments. I'm using the Honeybee stamp stick-on gems. I'm using the Rainbow Collection today, but I linked below to the Christmas gems as well as the Rainbow Collection. I place them where I want them to go on my tree. I decided to add some glue to help them stick better, only because I'm putting them on an embossed surface, but you don't need to do this if you don't want to. They do stick pretty well on their own. As you can see, the card has a lot of shine to it with the tree and the snowflake background being embossed. That's my card for today. I hope you liked the video. Please consider subscribing to my channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Thanks and have a great day.